The thing about jewelry books is that they're great. They're reference material. The great thing about reference material is that it means that you don't have to store information in your head all the time. All you have to do is somebody's already written it down, so you just go look it up in the book. So it makes your life so much easier. The problem that I found is that a lot of people really just don't know how to learn from reference material, things like antique jewelry books. You're trying to learn the style of a specific style of jewelry from era to era, and you just can't figure it out. And I get it. There's a reason for that, and if you watch the video after this, I'm going to tell you why that is and what you can do about it. So go all the way to the end of this video. Hi, I'm Nicole, and I go by Jewelry Nerd. If this is the first time that you're coming across me, welcome to my channel. I'm a graduate gemologist from GIA. I have been in the antique and estate jewelry business, wheeling, dealing, buying, selling, all sorts of that for over 20 years. So when it comes to antique jewelry, I live, breathe, and eat this stuff. I literally am very one-dimensional. This is all I do. So if you want to learn about antique jewelry, you have come to the right place. So what if you actually do want to get some reference books and you actually do want to learn about antique jewelry? How do you know what kind of books to get and what are the really good ones? So this is going to be an entire series of videos, and I'm going to go through all of the antique jewelry books so that you can actually get yourself some reference material and start learning how to do this. The first book that I'm going to bring up is a book that I know a lot of you already have, and it's called Understanding Jewelry by David Bennett and Daniela Mischetti. Now, like all books, there's going to be pros and cons to them, and you need to know what the pros and cons are so you can actually figure out if these books are something that you want for your reference guides or not. So let's go through the pros first. Awesome, awesome pictures in this book. Fabulous, full color pictures of, oh my gosh, so much droll-worthy stuff. This is just, yeah, just like that. If you want pictures, this book has them. So pictures are phenomenal. Now, what about the content? Can you actually learn anything from this book? Well, flip to the table of contents. And if you do, you're going to see some things that go along with this book that really don't go in other books. There's an entire section on gemstones that she covers in here, or that they cover in here. And for the most part, people often section out gemstone books into other books. So if you want to know something about gemstones, you have to go get another reference guide. This book has a lot of the big stones in here. So you're going to get sapphires, rubies, things like that, the big stones. You're not going to have all of the gemstones, but you're going to have the basic ones, the big ones that you're going to see in most jewelry. So that's definitely a plus for this book. Now, the other plus to this book is that they've broken this down into 20-year segments, starting from 1820. So if you want Georgian period style and you want to figure out what that is, this is going to be a good book to just go down the actual centuries and figure out the style in 20-year increments. The other really good thing about this book is that it goes all the way to the year 2000. Now, most people don't cover anything from like 1950 to 2000. So there's a huge gap in knowledge for most people between 1950 and 2000. And it causes a lot of trouble when it comes to style. Let me tell you, because there were at least four revivals in the 20th century that go from the years 1950 to the years 2000. There was a Victorian revival, so you're going to get basically copies of Victorian pieces in the late 20th century. And if you don't know what they are, how are you going to know if it's original or if it's a copy? You're also going to get Art Deco revival. You're going to get a Georgian revival, and you're going to get Art Nouveau revivals. So there's a lot of revivals, and revivals are the same thing as reproductions. They're basically reproducing all of those different styles in the late 20th century. Now, this book is not going to cover that. Most books don't. I haven't found a single book that does. I made a course about it that does, because that was just a gap that was out in the marketplace, and so I had to fill the gap with my own knowledge, essentially. But this book is fantastic so that you actually get the basic styles from 1950 to 2000 and all the way back to the Georgian era. So if you're trying to learn style, this is a really good book because it gives you those 20-year increments in which to actually see style every 20 years from 1820 on. Fabulous, right? Now, there's something that you don't know about this book that you really do need to know. When you're looking for reference material, you really need to know who wrote the book. And this is one of the cons of this book, one of the bad parts of this book. This book was written by people who work at high-end auction houses, Sotheby's, Christie's. I think it's actually Christie's. Well, whatever it is, it's high-end auction houses. So you have to ask yourself, what kind of jewelry do people send to high-end auction houses? Is it the average everyday thing that we're going to find on eBay and Ruby Lane and Etsy and Instagram? No, absolutely not. It's going to be the stuff that you buy for $100,000 that was signed by David Webb or that was signed by Cartier. So this is not an everyday jewelry book. This is not going to help you go through style by style of the 20th century and actually decade by decade it out. And the reason that I say that is because you have to figure that there's like a trickle down section that happens in jewelry. Designers come up with something and then it takes years and years and years for everybody else to go, oh, wow, that's a really super awesome style. I think I'll copy it. So by the time it trickles down to everybody else, it's literally decades later. And that's the thing that nobody tells you. It's one of the things that I cover in 100 Years of Jewelry Style every single decade. And then people kind of figure it out. Yeah, David Webb is going to do this. And then maybe in 10 years, somebody else is going to do something that looks like it. But the style does not just magically become whatever it is that they're telling you in this book, because these are high-end auction houses that are doing high-end designer jewelry. So high-end designer jewelry means that somebody's going to come up with a style first, and then it's going to take decades for other people to start going, hey, that's a pretty cool style. I think I'll incorporate those kind of designs into my designs. So not everybody is going to have that kind of thing. So think about it like this. And I keep using David Webb, so I'll use Cartier. Cartier is going to come up with a style in the 1950s. You're going to see that and you're going to think, oh wow, that's what the style of the 1950s is. And it's not, because the style of the 1950s that Cartier made in the 1950s, other people aren't going to do until decades later. So that's the con or the bad part of this kind of book. Now, that being said, the earlier years are going to help you. But again, remember, you can't look at things like Lalique and think that all Art Nouveau jewelry is going to look like Lalique, because it doesn't. Is it going to give you style elements? Yeah, totally. What about Castellani in the early part of, or in the later part of the Victorian period? Is everything going to look like Castellani in the years that it's dated in this book? No, absolutely not, because Castellani made it first, and then it was going to take decades for other people to come up with that kind of look. So again, if you go into a book knowing that, you're fine. Now, the other fabulous part about this book is that if you do want to focus on high-end couture jewelry, or if you want to focus on specifically designer jewelry, this book is amazing, and it's going to give you a really amazing reference guide for that kind of jewelry. So if that's your focus, then you're in luck. Now, let's go on to, Sometimes I look at jewelry books and I don't really understand what I just read, and God, I just can't seem to make all of this stuff stick in my head. If that's you, you are not alone. Stick with me because I'm going to cover that next. So if you're one of those people that has tons of books and you love looking at them, and you can literally spend a Saturday afternoon with a cup of tea on your couch just leafing through the pictures of these books, I get it. I've done the same thing myself. You're not alone. But if at the end of you putting that book down, you have to wonder, do I actually know what the style of something was in 1820? Do I actually know what the style of anything was in 1900? I'm not really sure. Trust me, that happens to everybody. All of my students have confessed to having that exact problem. I'm going to do a completely separate video on that problem and how to solve it. So I'm going to put the link down below this video, and remember, this is a series. So I'm going to cover a whole lot of jewelry books. So if you want to learn style of jewelry, oh my goodness, this is the series for you. So before you go, if you liked this video, please hit that thumbs up button, and remember to hit that bell notification and subscribe so that you can get notifications every time a new video in this series comes out. Thank you for joining me. I'm Jewelry Nerd, and I will see you soon.